This is Silvia Pavoni, economics editor of The Banker. I'm talking to Bailey Klinger, who is the CEO of EFL. Bailey, what's EFL?
So EFL, the Entrepreneurial Finance Lab. The Entrepreneurial Finance Lab is an organization that spun out of Harvard University back in 2010. We do non-traditional credit screening to open up access to finance for SMEs, mostly what you'd call thin file applicants who are difficult to evaluate with traditional risk analysis tools.
You are clearly a Felaban because you have connections and you're working with a bunch of banks here trying to assess the best clients that these banks can work with. What has been the reception at this year's conference?
So one of the big reasons we're at Felaban is we won something called the G20 SME Finance Challenge last year. And that was a search internationally for the newest solutions to unlock scalable SME finance. And what that prize brought us was a partnership with the IDB and FOMIN. Through that partnership, we've started working with different banks in the region to roll this tool out. Because each new country that it's used in, we need to go through an initial process of adaptation, changing the tool, adjusting the model for the particular country's context and for the particular bank's context. We've started that process through this FOMIN-supported initiative with BBVA Bancomer, the largest bank in Mexico. And we started live lending with them about 5 months ago. We're also working with Banbeef here in Peru. And we're working with Bancredito in Costa Rica. And what we're here at Felaban for is basically to share the learnings of those pilots and also to meet with new banks and get new banks interested in potentially scaling up their lending in the SME space using this tool.
And you're not just working with Latin America. What other regions of the world are you tackling and what's the response there?
So this project started off mainly in Africa. We are now live lending in 10 different countries in Africa, working with the largest bank in Africa, Standard Bank. And that's been happening since 2010. So that's our biggest region. And we've also recently expanded to South and East Asia. We've been working for a while in Pakistan, and we have some new pilots starting in India. And one of our biggest partnerships in the Asia region is in Indonesia with BTBN Bank, which is something we've recently launched. And the take-up there has been fantastic. The problems we're solving are fairly general to SME lending. They're not country-specific. This lack of information, this difficulty in evaluating risk for individuals that don't have a history and don't have the bureau information that goes into traditional models, that's not very country-specific. We get interest from even developed markets. But across the emerging world, it's something that there's been a fantastic reception to and a big interest in.
And actually the interest from the developed markets is something that may possibly take up in the future according to how these markets' economies develop. But, so do you think that there may be a growing area for you in the future as once you establish yourselves in emerging markets?
So there is definite interest because there are subsegments of thin file small business applicants. And then also, particularly for new enterprises, banks have a very difficult problem even in developed countries evaluating those. But if you compare the size of the thin file client base in the United States, which is big and it's interesting, compare that to the thin file applicant pool in Nigeria or Indonesia, it's quite a bit smaller. So the impact and the kind of biggest pull for our tool is still in the emerging markets where there's even less information available to evaluate risk, and there's the big mass market of small businesses is still completely locked out of the formal banking system as far as lending is concerned.
And ultimately, what are you trying to get out of Felaban? Obviously, you were speaking at an event earlier, and you're getting yourselves known, but what are the other objectives of being here?
So we're meeting with, first of all, a number of banks that we're currently working with to have kind of a progress update and to discuss some next steps and such. We have a series of meetings throughout the conference with a number of banks that we're in discussions with, that we're sharing proposals with, and we're figuring out how we can work together. And then, as you said, kind of getting the word out to new banks, connecting with new banks who are interested in the space and who need, a scalable and low-cost risk analysis tool to get into the thin file SME space. That's the big reason.
Well, that's great. Well, best of luck, and we shall see how it goes next year at the next Felaban. Thank you so much.
Thank you.